This episode may contain strong language and adult themes. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
One sock cutter, he cuts socks. Two sock cutters, he cuts socks. Three cocksuckers.
Well, on that, welcome to tonight's 22 Dropouts. Welcome all the sock cutters and all the cocksuckers too. Pete, well done. You managed to get almost all the way through that, and you did also use an American speech therapist to help you. Anyway, it's that time. Technically, the Six Nations is finished, but it hasn't really because of COVID, which means that people like Sam have still got one nervous wait and a squeaky bum. But don't worry, Sam. It's against France. It's against France. You're going to lose because allez les bleus, allez les bleus. Okay, which means that now Julian is going to have a squeaky bum time. Because let's be fair, it's between...
Just enjoying my cup of tea, Mike. Just enjoying my cup of tea.
It's between the cock and the dragon. That's how it is now.
Hey, Julian. Julian, what's the difference between Wales and a tea bag? Tea bag stays in the cup longer.
What are you talking about? We're still in it. England won it fucking weeks ago.
I did see on eBay earlier on that they're selling... Wales will Six Nations winners T-shirt 3 for $5.
Well, that's listen, Grand Slam winners, so we can still win the Six Nations, Mike.
No, you're not.
Yeah, but aren't they selling England? We're number 5.
No, they're going for quite a lot actually, because as you know, that what we always do is we just wipe Italy off the score sheet because they're always going to come last. And then we look at who's next. And this year it is England. And it's deservedly England because, on the whole, England have been shite.
So maybe England's T-shirt should say, thank God we have Italy in our pool.
Actually, our T-shirt should say, thank God Italy are in the Six Nations. Without a shadow of a doubt.
But Scotland have been saying that. Scotland have been saying that for years.
Well, do you know what? Italy in the Six Nations, since it's been formed, have won 12 games. 12 games in all of their time in the Six Nations. 7 of those have been against Scotland. So, yeah, maybe there or thereabouts. Now, England, should say either on the back of the T-shirt, fuck off, Eddie. And we know it's going to cost £550,000, but you might as well go now, in quotes from the RFU. Or it's fuck off 9, 10, 12, leave 13 out. We're definitely going to get rid of 1 at least, and maybe 4. It's a clusterfuck. It's a monumental clusterfuck. And something has to change, as everybody in the country... in fact, everybody in the Six Nations has been saying it has got to change because it can't continue like this. It's either got to change from the leadership, changing the personnel, because let's face it, it's not the manager who loses a game, but it is the manager who sets the tone. And if everybody blindly follows that tone and they are blindly past it, like some of them are, then you have to blame the man at the top. Otherwise, he has to take a firm grip and say, you know what, you're not coming to the next World Cup. Neither are you, you and you. You're past your prime. Let's find somebody else who's about to hit that prime. But that's talk.
Is that where you're going to put the new British Lions logo up, Mike?
No, I would put the new British Lions logo up. In fact, have a look at the new British Lions logo. Just now. There's only one problem with this that I can see. Is that whilst it's still got the Scottish badge on there, they're only going to get the 3 people who play in the English Premiership in the team anyway. Because I tell you what, Scotland did do well, considering there was only 2 of the 3 and a couple of the others did step up.
Which
but,
three are they? I think there's one
So-
of the guys in France who might be there.
Yeah, well, it's Hogg, Russell, and Watson are the only
Watson.
three that actually play any rugby and go
I
forward. But
think
they were playing Italy, so my local under sevens team could have done just as well, and they could have beat Italy 52-10, especially with Italy having 3 in the bin. So look, I know Russell was missing on the weekend. And I know it was a good win, and we always celebrate the wins, but it's not one that you can necessarily be proud of. Or
I would be more proud of a result against Italy like that when they can actually win other games against Wales, Ireland, England, France, and have a 20-point margin or something like that instead of like 3-4 points and then getting pissed at the post at the end of each bloody match. So yeah.
Yeah, don't mention getting pipped to the post at the end of a match today, please.
Yeah, although it was a fantastic result in regards to the scoreline, and you play what's in front of you. So
you'll take it all day long. Obviously, you'll take it all day long.
Well done it. And yellow cards aside, obviously that comes down to being under pressure, just like what happened at the weekend there, with France and Wales. Wales' discipline this fixation has been huge. And yet, the last 10, 20 minutes of that game, it fell apart because France threw the kitchen sink at them.
No, it was, and we've talked a lot about discipline and what's England given away 60 something in the last 4 games. It's pretty astronomical, really. And if you want to win, you can't do that. Interestingly, though, Italy I think only gave away 10 penalties at the weekend, but still had 3 in the bin.
It's where
there have been a number of red cards.
Those penalties away.
Yeah,
where they gave them away.
And at what point in the game as well, and after warnings and things like that. But that's unusual, isn't it? 10 penalties and 3 in the bin. That's quite unusual. And in a little way, I'm a little bit upset for Italy for that. Did they deserve all of them at the time? Yeah, they probably did. But when you look back on it and go 3 yellows in 10, when you look at the bigger picture and you look at the stats only, rather than, as you say, Sam, looking at where and when, then that's probably, it probably feels a little bit harsh. That's all.
Yeah, but the other thing is that you got to look at facts. They're probably in the right, done in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and
to be fair, I mean, we don't like the referee because he's Welsh. Oh, sorry, he's French. You've got to, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, isn't he? So
yeah. Slight correction on the penalty count for Italy, though. It was 10 in the first half and it was 16 in total.
Oh, was it 16 in total? Sorry.
Yeah.
I misread that. So, well, 16 and 3. But then again, look at that then. They had 1 in the bin in the first half with 10 and 2 in the second half with 6 then.
Yeah.
So, like you say, it comes down to where and when, doesn't it, on the pitch. Pascal, did he have a good game in the middle?
Not bad. Not bad at all.
I think he had a decent game. Yeah, I was a bit worried, to be honest, because you know how the French referees are starting the revolution. Trying to get France to win everything by coming through the refereeing side. But he had a good game. He came to life when he took one on the chin, which I thought that looks short.
Brutal.
How come he didn't go up for HIA?
Yeah, no.
Well, now you say that. Have a look at this.
Oh, referee Gozer just took an elbow in the face.
Now we've all been knocked over by a player before, and we've all been on the receiving end for getting in the wrong way. But boy, he didn't need to move forward just at that point, because that really was his own fault. Anyway, I don't think there was anything controversial with the game, really, was there, in terms of refereeing decisions?
Yeah.
I saw the entertainment value of the Scotland-Italy flash up on the telly, so I turned it off and went outside and did a load of gardening because I thought that might be better than watching a lot of shit teams play.
I
Look, let's start just talking about the best game this whole weekend.
Yeah, now, didn't that happen over
which
your
MLS
side of
game
the
was that, Phil?
Atlantic?
We're not talking about England getting beat then. Okay, I thought that was the best.
Oh,
game.
we'll get to that in a
No.
minute.
Although San Diego and Rugby United New York would probably have beaten England this weekend because they were shit. But yeah,
I just thought Ireland were very, very good.
no, England were fucking tragic.
I did not expect Ireland to win that game. I thought England were going to win that game, honestly.
Anyway,
we'll come on
to that in a bit because the most entertaining game of the weekend was over in America. Phil,
Which game was that, Mike?
any of them?
Well, okay. So as you're probably aware, and all of your three fans are aware, the Major League Rugby started in the U.S. this past weekend, opening kickoff weekend, and there were 6 matches, right? And out of those 6 matches, 4 were held on Saturday and 2 were held on Sunday. And 4 of them were decided by less than 7 points. And the other one was more than 2 tries. And his second one was just over 10 points, or 11 points, something like this. So there was a lot of parity in the league in the first weekend, which was really exciting. The 2 top teams last year, which were Toronto and San Diego, both lost on Saturday, which is kind of a shocker in itself. So that's already created a whole different perspective on how the league is going to go. Maybe, who knows?
That's good, though. That's good. It means that people may be more interested in it, and it already throws things wide open.
Yeah, and some of the matches had fans and some didn't. The one, as your 3 fans know, are probably aware.
How the fuck do you know we've only got 3 fans that watch this?
Because you keep reminding me.
And 2 of them are already on this panel tonight.
Oh, they're fans?
Yeah, Phil?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did any of the new law variations come into play at the MRL this weekend?
Yeah, they did. And it's actually interesting because a lot of people had a lot of chatter about that, the 7-point try as an example, right? And the first one that was scored in the league history was actually scored in the San Diego / Las Vegas game. I actually have not seen that video yet because I was in rugby meetings in California, but to that end, it's pretty interesting. It was a lot of positive feedback. I didn't hear anybody talk negatively about the 7-point try.
So just for those people who haven't read Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, WankTok, whatever it may well be, what's this 7? Well, I think that's all they do. I've seen TikTok a few times, and it's women who walk towards the camera and walk away with their tits out. So, yeah, that's WankTok to me. Anyway, Phil, just... No, I might not edit that bit out, actually. So, Phil, just tell us about this 7-point try, mate.
Yeah, so the 7-point try is pretty simple. They're scoring underneath the posts, directly perpendicular to where the post would lie. So there's no need to do the conversion. It speeds up the return to play.
I'll argue with that because have you seen Gavin Hastings, the best kicker in the world, back at that point?
1991 World Cup
in the Six Nations.
Hey, Johnny Wilkinson's fucked those up, and I remember the commentator. I remember the commentator with Johnny just saying, "You put your mortgage on this," and then Johnny fucking sliced it.
Yeah, I remember that.
But didn't
he trial the 7-point try in Bermuda, the Bermuda 10s back in the fall? I think they did.
They may well have done, but nobody watched it because it was on Sky, and
we've used that. We've used that at some tournaments here in Scandinavia, anyway.
Yeah,
but only when we don't have any posts.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do we think of that? Just before we go to
if I could,
is it a positive or a negative?
So I'm going to chime on that first, Mike. Keep in mind what the audience is for looking at in the U.S., right? It's about creating more attack, more points, which gets more of the audience interested in being involved. You have less downtime, which means you don't have a minute and a half for the next restart, things like that. So it actually is good for television, and it's good for the American public to be involved or get that whole thing. Why waste that time, really? I'm not sure if that's going to be the outcome, but ultimately I understand the reasons behind it.
I do, and I also understand the reasons why we like to have the 90 seconds plus the few seconds while the TMO checks in the background. It's so all the Brits could go and put the kettle on and make a cup of tea.
Or go and buy a pint at the bar.
There was a few
and this is the thing, when people are allowed back in bars, I think this is going to screw up things, like Jules says, because that's the time when you finish your beer, turn to the bar and grab another pint before you turn back to the screen again.
Yeah, but because of COVID and everything now, it's table service.
Oh, well, on that bombshell, I think we shall take a break while I go and get on my app and order my next pint. And we'll see you just after this.
When you need clear and concise match official communication systems, look no further than the brand new AXIWE AT350.
Radios are always useful, they always help us, especially AXIWEs, where all three of us can be open at any time, we can have open communication.
Available now from refcomsglobal.net. Investing profits into match official development worldwide.
So welcome back to part 2 of tonight's 22 Dropouts. Well, guess what? As of this week, tomorrow, in fact, Tuesday, the 23rd of March 2020, it was the start of the lockdown. And believe it or not, it was the start of no rugby a few days before. And thanks to Mr. Samuel Ramage, who's just appearing on the screen now and is going to wave at you. Wave at you, Sam.
Wave, dickhead.
Dickhead. Wave.
Wave at you, Sam.
How do I wave at me? Smart ass.
Right. This is the dickhead that's not. This is the dickhead that's not waving. So anyway, that's the one. If you see him in town, call the police because he's wanted. And if you've ever watched Crime Stoppers or Police 5, you'll know that face from plenty of places in Irving, Glasgow, and Edinburgh, as well as all sorts of places around the world. Anyway, look, it is a year since we started this almost. Because Sam, when we had a bit of a piss at one night, went, "This would make a good podcast." How fucking wrong was he? It's made a shit podcast, but we've had fucking great fun doing it. So well done to everybody who's here and everybody who's been on. And thanks to all our guests as well, because we've had an absolute wonderful time over the last year. Yeah, well done, Phil. No wonder we invited you late. Now, this is what happens when you bring Americans into it. This is what happens.
Yeah, we call you out.
Yeah. So anyway, don't forget to check up there. Have a look at our social media channels. Don't forget to like and subscribe down there as well. And next week, we're going to have a look at some of the bloopers and the outtakes from the last 12 months, which should be good fun. Now, before the break, we were talking about law variations in the MLR, which started at the weekend. Phil, just take us through some of the other ones, because we talked about the 7-point try, which actually I sort of like. I do like. I mean, I know we jest and say it means that we haven't got time to go and get a beer, but I do like that it speeds up the game for what is nonsensical reason to delay it. So I like that. But what about the others?
I just think I'm not a fan. I just think it's taking another contest out of the game. Even though it's a contest we don't often see won, but it does happen, and it has happened this year, that somebody's charged down a kick for under the posts. So I just think it's taking a contest away. For those extra 2 points that you have to earn.
Yeah, but like...
it's not done for the players, it's done for the fans.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I know why it's done. I can see.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't like it as a fan myself.
Jules, we're old school. We've been through that. We've both probably been asked to take a kick at some point in our lives and fucked up the one in front of the post, and so have many professional kickers. But actually, if you look on the balance of it, within the scope of those 2 posts, how many kicks have actually ever been missed in adult rugby, whether it be from amateur all the way up to professional? And it's amateur, but it's certainly at pro level. When was that ever a thing?
Pro level, not many.
I can name.
I understand that.
I can name 2 that Scotland have done.
But you're Scottish. You're not supposed to tell us that, mate.
Sam, Scotland don't score many tries, so obviously it sticks in your mind.
No, there was the one that Gavin Hastings missed in 1991 at the World Cup against England.
Mate, do you really write all this shit down and go, Gavin Hastings missed the conversion in 1991?
Then there was the one that Russell missed as well.
I can't even remember where I was living in 1991. Never mind what Gavin Hastings
I believe Finn Russell missed one just in the autumn test series, did he not? Or the later round of Six Nations, just that last year.
You two are some fucking rugby noses. You really are. Anyway, Phil, talk to us about the rest of the law trials that you're giving a go to.
Yeah, I think there's 2 that are more important than any of them besides the 7 points. It's the 60-second kick, the penalty kick versus 90 seconds. So again, it's all about expediting the return to play, right, for your fans. And I think the other one that's probably as important ending is the red card issuance. So it's for 20 minutes. If a person gets a red card, they're only sent out for 20 minutes, not for the full match.
No, they're sent off for the full match. They can replace.
No, they're sent off for the full match.
Yeah. So that player can't come back, but they can bring another one on. So I'm going to go around the table here, and I'm just looking at the table as I've got it on my screen. So Phil's explained that. Phil, what's your opinion on that?
Well, under the old ways of all of us looking at it, it takes away from the spirit of the game in our opinion, or my opinion. But I do understand, again, it's about trying to create a fair and equitable place for people to play and have a good match. So I could see it. I think we'll just leave it to the pundits to understand what the value is.
Okay, my opinion is it's fucking bollocks. If you've done something naughty, and you deserve to be sent off, then your team deserves to suffer. It's a bit like when your whole class gets a detention because you were a naughty little shit at school. And peer pressure works. So, no, my opinion is if you're off, you're off. You can't bring anybody back on. That's your fault. That's your team's fault. And nanny, nanny, nana. Sam?
Yep.
What's your opinion on this? Or do you not have one because you're Scottish and you're trying to work really hard to make sure that Scotland never go through this?
No, I understand why they're doing it, to bring up another player back on after 20 minutes, because too many games have been spoiled by red cards that are, yes, legally by law, the red card because they've hit the face on a clear out or something like that, but it really has spoiled the game. One instance, for example, would be the Ireland-Scotland match, where there's a red card. It was more red than I think was it not the Ireland-Wales? There was an Irish player sent off on that, which it was lesser than the Scotland one. So I think that really spoiled the game. But it was by letter of law a red card. But that's the kind of instance where you'd probably say, yeah, that would come into play, better effect. But yeah, I mean, I agree with once you're off, you're off. You shouldn't be, you've let your team down and then your team gets down. So.
Yeah, so Sam, again, I'm not disagreeing with it, but understand that a lot of games, opening kickoff, a player goes and takes a person out in the air, and theoretically, let's assume that it's a red card offense. Now, basically, the team is going to play 80 minutes down because of a foul play off a kickoff to start a game. So again, as devil's advocate on it, I don't know if the team needs to be punished because of that action at the beginning of it. So I understand the reasoning.
Does the time really matter, or is it the offence that matters?
See, I can see Phil's argument there in that if your offence is at the start of the game and you have the same offence 10 minutes from the end, there's a big difference between getting that red card at the first half of the game and at the end of the game. But the offence is the same. The effect on the team is completely different. on where in the game it happens. So there's your inequality there on getting a red card. However,
so what you're saying is the effect on somebody else is the inequality.
Yeah.
The inequality is not the offence that was committed.
No, but the inequality is I've given an offence. It's a red card. I'm gone. Yeah, I've tackled somebody high around the neck with a swinging arm. I'm gone.
No chance.
However, if I do it minute 1 and minute 70, there's a huge difference on how the game's going.
Aren't we trying to change player behaviour? Isn't that the whole point?
We are.
Everything that's going on at the moment.
I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I don't know where I want to go. Because I'm a little bit old school in that I think once you've done wrong, you should be off. But I also watch a lot of ice hockey where once you're gone, somebody else comes on in your place straight away.
Yeah. What about you, Pete?
Sorry.
What about you? What's your thoughts, Pete?
I've got two things that I can see more player involvement if it does happen at grassroots level, because the amount of teams that have, say, 3 subs, player gets sent off, that player gets banned for the next 2 or 3 weeks. There's a player on the sideline that can take his place after 20 minutes. I think that might be a better thing. I can see why. I mean, like, penalise it. I'm old school like you guys. I can also see another way of doing it is that if a player gets sent off after 30 seconds, that team know there's going to be a player being brought back on in 20 minutes. Now, how many times do you see teams slow the game down when they've had a yellow card? Right? Are they going to slow the game down for 20 minutes? Because if so, it's going to be shit rugby.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you in grassroots, and I think this is where we should separate things. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing at the lower level of grassroots rugby, the lower levels. In the fact that it like Sam says, Sam's word were it ruins the game. It could ruin a whole season for a grassroots team, and they may not be able to cope. But at the professional level, these guys are paid to do what they do. They know what they're doing. And I think if you do that at the professional level, you will get coaches. We've seen everything from Bloodgate onwards, haven't we? You will get people going, just do it. You've had a clean record so far. You're going to get a 2-week ban for this. Just go and do that. We can survive for 20 minutes on 14 men, and then we're back in it. Just take that player out because he's the danger. And I see that as a real problem.
Go back to what Phil had said, right, about if it's right at the start of a match, what happens. Do you remember the South Africa versus the Lions second test? I think it was 2009 or was it 2019? I can't remember. 2008 or 2019. Where it was after 5 or 6 minutes, there was an eye gouge at the side of the pitch.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, he should have went. The camera angle was there, everything. He should have been gone, red card. But they didn't. They went yellow.
Why do you think he wasn't red carded? Do you think it's because it was at the beginning of the match?
I believe so, yeah. And it was the second
Because for me and the guys I coach, it doesn't matter whether it's minute 1 or minute 79. If a player's going to do that, they're gone. End of.
Yeah, and I think that's where we've got better as referees overall, from grassroots all the way up. In that the education levels have got better, and our training's got better, and CMOs have come in a lot more, and that is being slowly pushed out of the game. Still happens. You think, shit, where am I in the game if I do this now? It's always going to be in your head. And some will react to it, some won't. But that's an education and training thing.
Oh, we've all done that, haven't we? But it's the first penalty ref.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Or you get the guy so you've just put the team on a warning, and then they make a substitution, and the substitute comes on, and 2 minutes later, does the same thing again, and he's off.
It's always that substitute that gets yellow carded.
It is, isn't it? It
always,
is.
Because they haven't heard the warning. They come in and do exactly what they've been training to do. The rest of the team know that they're on a warning, and they come in and smash somebody, and they do something stupid, and bam, I warned you, you're off.
Yeah, and whose fault's that? It's not the referees. That's the team. That's the coaching staff. And I've done that in a national game where a guy has come on, and there's been a warning, and a warning about just be careful around the ruck. and he's come in and he's done a neck roll. He's been on for 45 seconds, and my flag's gone in. And even the coach just went, "Oh, for fuck's sake, he's always like this dickhead." And 45 seconds on the pitch, and he's off again. And you can't do anything about that.
He was front row. He was probably knackered already.
Yeah, he was from Huddersfield. Anyway.
Oh, I know which one.
The replacement 7. Now, talking about gouging, and in part 3, we're really going to cover off these other bits in the Six Nations. But there were two potential instances of gouging this weekend. One was in the Wasps game, where I think it was Josh Bassett who got up afterwards and sort of pointed to his eyes and gone, "Did you see that?" And when you look at the pictures, I don't know whether you guys have seen this. So it's a breakdown. The players are all on the floor. The whistle has gone, and the player's here, and he's let go, and he's reached around, and he's had a feel, and then he's dug his fingers after the whistle into Bassett's eyes. Now, if that doesn't get cited and a very long ban, I don't know what will, because that was absolutely shocking. And I've got to be honest, it was in the first half, and I think that affected the refereeing for the rest of the game. It's one of those things, we've all been there, haven't we, where we've missed something or somebody said something to us. Now, most of it being at community level where there's just one. There's no TV, there's no ARs, we're on our own. Somebody said something's happened, and we've been completely blindsided. But it plays on your mind, doesn't it?
Just to correct myself, it was 2009. It was after 40 seconds in the second test. So that's how close to start a game it was.
I was there.
Yeah.
You were always there.
Shockburger, and he got a yellow card for it. It was clear as day that it's a red card. But it didn't give the red.
How can you do? So there you go. That coming back to your point, how it affects things in the first minute of the game or the 79th minute of the game. You've just said, Sam, clear as day red card. How else could you deal with it different? And does that team, after a clear as day red card, do they deserve to bring somebody back on it after 20 minutes?
No, they don't. Because and I'm old school. I mean, that way I agree with it. Once you're off, you're off. But there is, I understand the reasoning and thought process behind it, where there has been instances where a red card has spoiled the game when it's on the verge. It's like that white card thing for review kind of stuff. And that's where, you go down that line. But if I remember, that Lions test match was one of the most brutal test matches that's ever been played. And
you've got to look back as well, and you've got to look at the type of game that was played back then, and the TMO and the technology we've got these days to detect this stuff, and the routines.
So it was detected.
Players can't get away with anything anymore.
No, they can't.
Maybe they shouldn't, Jules.
No, they shouldn't. You're right. But that also then brings in the number of incidents go down, and the severity of them also goes down. You wouldn't have the massive brawls and the stamping you had back in the 80s and 90s.
No, they just grab each other, don't they, and shake each other. There's no punches anymore.
The good old days.
There's no villain. Unless you're friends.
Maybe bringing
leagues
this 20-minute red card will work.
The other one is, if they don't try it, they won't know.
Exactly.
No, you are right with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can always kick it out. Remember, they brought in a load of laws a few years ago, and they didn't like it, did they?
No, they tried a few. They picked the ones out that didn't work. They kept the ones that did work.
And Phil, they brought in a new one in America, didn't they? Because of all the COVID and stuff. It's cough, sneeze, cough, isn't it, at scrum time?
The squeeze.
Well, funny you should mention scrum, Pete. They also law trialed 2 scrums per sequence, i.e. your original scrum plus 1 reset. After that, you've got to give a free kick or penalty.
To who?
But then again, we always say never, ever give more than 2 resets anyway. Now,
another reason for clicking up the game, isn't it?
Yeah. On that note, we're going to take a quick... We need to take a quick break, but we'll be back after this short message from our sponsors. Talking of which, Green King, all that publicity we gave
Green King, do you deliver to Sweden?
No beer, mate. No beer, Green King IPA. Come on, do your magic. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome to part 3 of tonight's 22 Dropouts, the one before our birthday, where I would say, thanks to Green King, we have got some Abbott Reserve, but actually it's thanks to Morrison's. So, Green King, please send us some, and we will promote your beer even more than we do already. Anyway, Phil has had to disappear and go and do some work. Christ knows what he does, because he's normally on here or chatting rugby. The Ireland-England game. So go on, you two fucking gloat. Because do you know what? I really can't fucking argue with you this week, because we were shit again.
I'm struggling for words, but
I really messed up.
Sam, what was your highlight of the Ireland-England game?
Well, half time, because the first half was bloody boring. It got a bit more exciting in the second half, but yeah, I actually called that England would win the game. I didn't see England losing that game, but Ireland were just a lot stronger and just more clinical at the big time.
I did. I called it before and I called it during. Jules.
Yes.
Biggest moment in the game for you?
Ireland smashing England by that many points with only 14 men.
And well,
they couldn't do it in Wales.
That's because you're used to having 14 on the pitch and 1 in the middle on your side. That
was a first game for us. So.
We were utterly bollocks. And for me, Youngs was predictable. Ford was getting caught out. He can't change. And Farrell, I mean, Christ knows. I mean, we talked about it at the time, didn't we? When you're chasing somebody from behind, when you were taught to tackle as a kid at school, you're taught to chase them, grab them around the waist and slide down to their legs to stop so that they fall over. Where does Owen Farrell
that now?
Yeah, because guess what? It fucking works. But where did Owen Farrell tackle a player from behind? Literally up here. It's like, mate, are you fucking retarded? Or actually, don't bother answering that.
One of the commentators, right at the beginning was, "Oh my God, Farrell's just made a proper tackle."
Yeah,
But doesn't that tell you something? Doesn't that tell you something that the country as a whole is pissed off with this fucking bollocks with Youngs, Ford and Farrell not learning the stuff that came out on social media, and it was all over the press a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God, I can't believe they've shown this, and he's hitting tackle pads up here. The guy is a fucking liability. And what's he got? He's got a good boot on him. I mean, okay, he's a proper mouth breather, but he's got a good boot on him. But so many other people and so many other English players.
Sam, I think Mike's got a problem with Farrell. I'm just suspecting it right now. That Mike might have a little issue with Farrell and some of the choices in the England team. What do you think?
I think the 9, 10 and 12 need to be getting sacked by what I'm hearing now and again. I mean, he doesn't mention it very often, but what he does mention is that the coach Jones needs to get there.
Right.
Hey,
So, what do you reckon about the English front row? How many times were they at fault at the scrum?
Too many.
Genuinely, I can't remember.
Well,
can't remember.
It was ludicrous. Mako. The guy looks like he's been on 40 fags a day after the warm-up. That man, I'm sorry, he's gone way past it. And we said this about Billy before. Billy had a great career. Then he was brought into the England setup. He suffered a number of long-term injuries. He struggled to get back to that optimum peak fitness, because you do. Then he got injured again. And he's 80% of the man he was. And to be honest, Mako is about 40% of the man he was, in my view. He looks completely and utterly fucked right from the first whistle of the game.
But it's time for a change. He got knocked out by a centre.
When was the last time you really saw that at top level rugby?
Saturday.
Now, Genge. The one thing that has been the one thing that has been hitting the headlines is Genge's reaction to, was it Sexton holding?
It was Sexton.
Sexton.
We've only seen one bit from behind, and
Sexton's been winding him up with something. He must have said something to him, because
and perhaps that's why nothing's gone. Because one of the things you've got, there's been all sorts of things on social media about why wasn't he cited. So the first thing is the evidence to the citing commissioner has to be clear and unequivocal that it meets the red card threshold. Did it meet the red card threshold from what we've seen on social media? No. It doesn't.
I haven't seen anything that's been massively not conclusive anyway.
Correct. And like you've just said, Jules, we don't know what's gone on, and we don't know. We know that Sexton's pulling in, because that's what they both discussed. If that was a sevens game, bearing in mind last year's change in emphasis in the sevens for referees, that if you hold somebody while you're on the ground that's trying to get up, it's an immediate yellow card for you. Maybe that's something we should think about for the 15s game. No, there's too many cards. There's too many cards. Sorry, I apologise. I do all of that sort of stuff, because there's just far too many cards this weekend, including another red in this game. Yeah,
that was the Aki.
The Bundyaki one, yeah.
He's gone in, round the shoulders, Farrell style, shoulder to head, direct.
Maybe we should call it the Farrell tackle from now
on. Yeah, not the Sonny Bill.
Sonny Bill's going back to boxing now anyway. So,
and I saw us go 6-0 up. 2 kicks from Farrell. I thought, okay, here we go. And then it got a bit boring, and I fell asleep. And I woke up at half time and us losing. And I was like, fuck, what just happened? And I was like, how do we just do that?
Pete, why are you so tired?
Because some of us to work, Julian, manual jobs.
Yeah, right, that's why.
No.
It's more like a woman kept you up, mate.
No, not on a Friday.
Right. Not on the school night, anyway.
Not on the school night.
When you say job, is it like licking a lot of lollipops and stuff, or what?
No, it's licking a lot of.
Edit beep.
Anywho,
can we go back onto rugby and stop talking about my?
Get back onto rugby instead of your sex life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You can enjoy England's loss. I'll repent England's loss. I've still got my shirt up there, but for next week I will be going. Allez les bleus, allez les bleus. Anywho, the best game in the Six Nations of the weekend has got to be the France versus Wales game.
Of the whole tournament.
Yeah, you're right. It has. It's the best game of the tournament so far. Now, because we have a resident Frenchman on, Jules, do you want to take us through this?
Jean-Claude can bring it up.
Because Jean-Claude's going to do it for us.
Jean-Claude's doing it for us. C'est très bien. C'est très bien.
Très bien. Très bien.
No, it was an absolute non-stop me clenching my butt cheeks together, trying not to shit my pants all game type of game.
You told us that you were touching cloth at one point.
Yeah, that was after 3 minutes.
Yeah, you shouldn't go for a curry the night before, mate.
No, I had a curry just before the game, mate.
Wait. I remember
I
your
had delivered
review.
in the break between the two matches, so I actually had the curry just before kickoff.
I remember your review about this curry as well on Facebook.
Yeah, it was fucking shit as well.
So,
It's fucking awful.
Right, so talk to us about the game instead of talking to us about the
game,
curry, because you got 2 minutes
I mean, it
left.
starts off. France score.
No, we've
Wales
got
score.
more
France
than 2
score.
minutes.
Wales score. It's fucking 14-0 after 15, 14-all after 15 minutes. I was like, Jesus Christ, if it's going to be like this all game, I'm literally going to have a fucking heart attack by full time. I'm not going to be able to cope with it. And it was like that all bloody game. And in the last 10 minutes, 14 versus 13. It's like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck are we going to cope with that now? They're just going to swing it out wide and score. And look what happened on the last second of the game. They found that gap out wide and swung it out there. And we were one man down, one man less than them, and they scored in the corner.
And I saw today a tweet from Lou Rees-Zammit, who has got to be the best winger in rugby history.
no, not at all.
No, not his
No, double underlined. He is fucking awesome, that kid.
He's fucking awesome.
He's a very good player, but he's not the best winger of all time.
It would be the best if he scored, but he hit the line.
Yeah,
that's
that's unfortunate, isn't it?
But I've looked at that incident and why Luke didn't review that for a penalty try. I will never know.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Talk to us about that, because there was something that happened before that meant he could have come back.
So it was through a penalty, wasn't it? It was clear advantage.
There was a driving maul at speed.
Yeah.
Going towards the line.
It was dynamic, yeah.
And it was dragged down before the line.
Was that the clock that did that?
Yeah. Penalty advantage. And the ball on the advantage got whizzed out, and Lewis Rees-Zammit potentially scored in the corner. Okay?
Yeah.
And then they went to review the try. It ended up being a no try. But because of that, I think he forgot to review the penalty try.
How far back was it? Can anybody remember?
It was one phase.
He didn't forget to review it, because he actually said we're under advantage, right, for the penalty. So if it's not a try, we're going back because we're under advantage. And then he came up and said, Armin Jones, you've got a yellow card. And he says, I don't believe a try would even scored. He actually stated it.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So it's something he's clearly thought of in live play.
Looking at it, the only thing I thought was that was a try. And the only thing stopping that being a try was the yellow carded player pulling it down. And the fact that he's yellow carded him for pulling it down that close to the try line, moving at pace, you've got to have a look. Yeah. Or at least go under the post straight away.
So perhaps that's one of the learning points from this, is that there was a lot going on in that 1 minute of play.
So we got that. That's one. Then we've also got the yellow card for Liam Williams. Yellow card for Toby, no problem. Yeah, we run a warning. Tobes has done it, and he's off. No, foul attack. Yeah. So he's gone.
Are you reading notes, Julian?
No, I'm not. I just remember the fucking game, mate.
You just look down at your hand. You just look down at your hand.
I can't keep fucking four, mate, without my fingers.
I've got all the stats.
If you guys could see the amount of notes I write down on my desk, you'd be surprised. Because I don't
Liam
read
Williams'
any of
yellow card. Have you watched that through again? He's tackled him. He's come back on side. He's got back on. He's released. He's got back on side. He's got up on his feet, played on. And I'm like, how the fuck is that a yellow card? He's done everything right. And I'm looking at it going, I just don't see a card there.
Well, I can see what I mean. Like when it happened at real time, and I thought, if that player doesn't go to the right, there's
it looks
something
like he killed it.
And it looks like he's spoiled the game, right? Which is not, and he's done it right, et cetera, et cetera. And if you go back, he's given the yellow card. And I thought, brilliant, he's given it. I'm a neutral person. not Welsh, not French. Bonjour. Okay. Yeah, he's done it right. And then you've gone back and watched the replay and gone through it all. And yeah, he's got it wrong. But at the time, his process was exactly the same as probably every referee in the country, apart from right? Was yellow card. He spoiled very fast play. And the French were absolutely fantastic.
I do think that the officiating team had a good game.
They did.
Luke explained
over the
things
game, they were
very well.
fantastic. They were fantastic most of the game. They just made one or two small little things like that we mentioned now, and I think that made a big difference. The biggest fuck up of the whole game. There is one other. The biggest fuck up of the whole game for me was by Wales. We had a scrum advantage, and 78 minutes and whatever seconds it was coming up to the last minute. Why the fuck didn't we use it? Just drop the ball and say we'll have the advantage, ref. We'll have the scrum. Yeah. We would have had our own scrum in the opposition half with less than a minute to go, with the ball coming out the back of it.
Yeah.
All we had to do then was hold on to the damn thing, and then we fucked it up anyway and gave the penalty away and gave them the ball back. And we all know what happened then.
Well,
I thought the game was brilliant. I thought the whole game, the referee management, the whole lot of it all was absolutely fantastic. And also, my social media, local people, like everybody else and all this stuff, and the amount of people that were neutral, were English and everything, and they all put on best game of the Six Nations, fantastic game of the Six Nations. That is what, we want it to be.
You know how there's some games that you watch and you go, fucking hell, that was an absolutely brilliant game, right? And absolutely agreement with everybody. It reminds me of the not quite as good, but Wales versus the All Blacks. It was one of those games that you just really enjoyed watching for the spectacle of the game that it was, right? And that's what it's about. It was actually like watching Southern Hemisphere rugby, and we just mentioned that last week about the difference between Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere rugby. So congratulations to both France and Wales for putting on a bloody good show, because it was. And imagine what it would have been like if the stadium was fucking full. If you go, right, about Wales, right, we're saying about Wales, right, the penalty count has been really low all season long throughout the Six Nations, right, apart from one other game, I think, at the start, right, and I think it was against Ireland. This time they went up to 15 or 16 penalties, and it showed that most of those penalties were actually last fucking 10 minutes, right, which is where the penalty count went up. If you look at the stats, right, just a quick look at the stats, right, and defensive stats, Wales missed 28 tackles compared to 8 by France. So when you look at it defensively like that, it just shows you the offloads that was going on, and they continue to play. Now, we're saying about the ref team being really, really good, and absolutely they were. They nailed just about everything. But I have two things. Just after the red card, right, there was a penalty given to France, right? And they took it quickly, and then Luke stopped them and said, no. He said, you're 15 metres away. And he walked forward, right, to the mark. There's no law that says you can't take the penalty as long as it's behind or through the mark, right? It doesn't have to be within 15 or 20 metres.
No, that was the one he took behind him.
Oh, no.
Doesn't matter how far behind, but he hadn't. And here's the big thing. He had not made a mark.
Yeah, he gave the penalty but didn't make the mark. And when he took the tap, and then he carried on going, it looked... the French guy was trying to play the referee a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, granted. Okay, granted. I'll give in for that one. But the call for the try, saying that it was try held up, try not held up, right? When they reviewed it, I believe that his question or his statement of "I've got on-field decision try," I think that should have been the other question round it. It should have been, "I believe it's held up. Can you prove that it's a try?" Because you can look at that footage. Look at that footage. That's held up.
Yeah, but you can't look at the footage because you can only look from his own eyes.
I think Luke should have gone, it's on-field, no try. Because he hasn't seen it grounded. He should have gone on-field, no try. Barnsley, give me some proof.
But the thing is, we don't know what he's seen, and we are only working on the camera angle. So I get that one. We can't argue with that because my Mark II eyeballs, I've seen that ball on the ground.
Barnesy did say, I've got no conclusive evidence of not turning over the try or something. That's something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because but he could have said, I've also got no conclusive evidence of the ball actually being scored. So he could have said, it's actually been held up.
But there's no conclusive evidence of it either, which is why you have to go with the on-field decision.
Yes. So,
and this is why we have changed the language between try, no try, or is there any reason I can't award the try? This was changed a couple of seasons ago.
Makes the decision.
Just to put that monkey back on the referee's back. Now, before we go,
because that makes a decision.
We've actually gone 10 minutes. Thanks to Sam.
Fuck you and your horse, because we didn't start for 15 minutes fucking later.
No. This section has gone 10 minutes over.
Well, I don't give a fuck. You were not. There was no way
you can shut the fuck up. You can shut the fuck up. You can shut the fuck up. Because very, very quickly now, Sam, what you've done is you've made you as we mute Sam, you've made Julian now try and just review very, very quickly in about 34 seconds how his Rugby World Ticket show has gone since we did our special live last week.
That's 20 seconds now, Jules.
We have tickets to the World Cup. We're going. The website is still shit. But we got in, we got tickets, we didn't pay much for them. And we're all happy. Well, we need more. So if anyone wants to give us tickets, it's great.
Oh, yeah. If you want to give us tickets, then by all means do so. Do so. Julian, where do we want tickets for?
Saint-Etienne.
Or
Marseille.
Nice. If you have Saint-Etienne on these tickets, particularly if you want to swap a few, because we have a number, then do get in touch with us. Just comment below the line. Get in touch with us up there, and we'll be in touch. And then you can send us your contact details and work out a deal, because we're going to host a cracking party in 2023 at our villa. And if you want to be part of that as well, just comment below the line. And if we like you, you can come. And with that, it is time to say goodnight tonight. It's been a great night. It's been well overdue, because now you're all bored after watching this for 108 minutes. Thanks to Sam. No, fuck off, Sam.
Friday night's game. Seriously, Friday night's game. You cannot not talk about it.
We cannot talk about it. We can talk about it next week.
No, you got to mention it. Like, build up.
We mentioned it in part 1.
Right. Scotland to win against France.
The game coming up. Scotland to win or lose.
Scotland to win. Scotland to win and finish in second place with 19 points.
Right, Scotland to win. I will bet against that.
Right, I'm going to go France to win, but Wales to win the Six Nations.
Yeah.
That's most likely what's going to happen, yeah.
And on that bombshell, it's time to say goodnight. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.